and welcome to GameSack. This is the 7th installment of Left in Japan. Can you believe that?
Yeah, it's hard to believe that this has gone on for so long.
There are so many games out there.
There are so many games out there, and we get stuck with importing fees and shipping charges on all these cruddy games.
Yeah.
Not cruddy games, they're actually fun, else we wouldn't have bought them.
Yeah. Anyway, let's just get right on into these games that we end up paying out the ass for.
Extras.
First up is the Game Paradise, also known as Game Tengoku on the Sega Saturn. This was originally an arcade shooter by Jaleco, and they brought it home to the Saturn with great results. The interesting thing about this game is that it takes place inside a Japanese arcade, and some of the games contained within. Supposedly, the story is about an arcade owner closing her shop for the day when she eventually somehow gets sucked into the games. I don't know if that's the case or not, but it doesn't matter because we're here to shoot things and die a whole bunch in the process. You select from a bunch of different characters, and you can tell just by looking at them that this is a cute 'em up. Nothing wrong with that. Each character has their own unique shot and special attack. You can also charge your shot and release a semi-special attack, but I rarely found that this was worth the trouble. The stages are all great with lots of whimsical scenarios. In one, you're flying inside one of those stuffed animal claw machines, and in another over a racing game's racetrack. Or how about this stage? Do you recognize what game is being parodied here? Wow, you're pretty good. Okay, this one's a little tougher to guess, but not much. It's not Pac-Man. It's all pretty cool. There's lots and lots of voice in here and not a lot of English text, so that may deter a few, but I think most people can figure their way around. In one area of the selection menu, you can get fake histories of the games that the characters come from. There's also several different versions of time attack modes, which are decently enjoyable. The game even offers what's known as a tape mode, where you prop your TV on its side so you can get the same resolution as the arcade game. This will give you a bit more resolution and detail, but honestly, I doubt many people would notice much of a difference. The normal view has bars on the sides of the screen to account for this, but no big deal. Like I said, there's lots of voice in here. One mode of the game has some chick talking a mile a minute about something. I don't know what she's saying, but she definitely seems excited as hell to tell you about it. Also, I love the sound of this character's special attack. There's even a special arranged mode of the game that you can play. This one features one more character to choose from, 2 extra stages, an extra boss at the end, and cutscenes between each level. It also features a proper ending since the story is more fleshed out here. But unfortunately, it drops the 2-player simultaneous play of the normal mode, and also the tape mode is gone. The extra stuff is welcome because even though there's 6 stages in the normal mode, they fly by pretty quick. But at least you get the blast of credits for some extra points. I love it when developers include little things like this. The biggest flaw in the game is that there are unlimited continues, and it's really tempting to just keep going. You have to limit yourself if you want a true challenge. The graphics all do a great job, though they're nothing mind-blowing. However, there's lots of scaling, rotation, and tons of stuff on screen with no slowdown or flicker. The music is hit and miss. Some of it's pretty good and the rest is merely acceptable. Combine all of this with very smooth control and you end up with a great game. It's pretty easy to see why the game never left Japan. Shooters were dying in popularity in the West, and this one is also chock full of stuff that would make it harder to market to those unfamiliar with Japanese nerd culture. Still, I recommend it just as long as you can snag it for under $50. Just make sure that you feel comfortable navigating through the purely Japanese menus.
Here's Newo on the Game Boy by Irem. Don't you just love it when you play a game for the first time and the experience just sticks with you? Seriously, I played this game for about 2 minutes and I knew this was going to be a great game experience all the way to the end. And it was an amazing experience because I didn't stop playing until I beat the game. Luckily, the game is only about 2 hours long. I mean, Joe could have been at my house stealing all my games and I wouldn't have noticed. I was that engrossed. So this title is a platforming puzzle game. It stars a slow-moving creature that's very bulbous, but he is damn cute and does funny things like raising his hands when he lets himself up or down steps. And he also screams when he takes a daring leap off a ledge with a parachute. There's no enemies in this game, so you don't have to fight anything, and you don't die, so you won't have to worry about falling off of ledges. Every item that you need to reach the end of the level is laid out right in front of you. All you have to do is figure out where and how to use these items. Most of the things that you pick up are easy to decipher, like blocks. Your character is a little too chubby to climb up or down bigger platforms, and he'll let you know by looking at you and shaking his head. But with these blocks, he can easily make a step to get where he needs to go. And some of the items you don't know what they are, but all you have to do is try using them at certain locations, and then it becomes all too clear. I really like that you carry the items on top of your head. This frees up your arms for climbing up and down ladders and ledges. There's 4 levels in this game, and each one you basically end up helping somebody out, and that's how you reach the goal. Playing this game makes you feel like a good person for doing these random acts of kindness. Now, if only you could be this good of a person in real life. Nah. The later levels do get longer and a bit more tricky with mazes, but they're not too hard to figure out. For a Game Boy game, I really do like the graphics. There's nice detail in the platforms and backgrounds when there are backgrounds. The music in this game is great. The tracks aren't long and will repeat a lot, but they have tons of feeling, and all of them have a very catchy melody. Earlier I said luckily the game is only 2 hours long. That was a stupid thought, because this game is really fun and actually I'd like it to be a lot longer than that. There is a password feature here in case you don't want to play through it all in one sitting, but just make sure that you play it no matter what.
Gail Racer is an extremely early title on a Japanese Saturn. It was released in the arcades as Radmobile, and believe it or not, it was designed by Yu Suzuki's AM2, who is best known for Sword of Vermilion on the Sega Genesis. In the arcades, it was heralded as one of the very first 32-bit games. The arcade game also has the distinction of having the very first appearance of Sonic the Hedgehog in any video game ever, and he's just hanging from the mirror, flopping back and forth. Anyway, your task is to race from Los Angeles to New York. No rules at all. Whoever finishes first, no questions asked. Except that there are rules. For instance, you have a timer. If that runs out, well, then it's game over for you. You have 3 continues to work with if you fail. Your view is from inside the cockpit of your car, and you can't change it. There are no other views. But you gotta keep in mind that this came out way before Virtua Racing and the like. Each segment is fairly short, and it's not one continuous race like, say, Outrun. Instead, when you get to the end of the segment, the game loads a new city. There's 3 segments in each area, and once you finish an area, it will tally up your times and let you know where you stand in the overall race. The controls are weird at first, and they do take a bit of getting used to. It's also hard avoiding the enemy cars. At least that's what it seems like. They're so huge and the cockpit takes up the entire screen, but you can pretty much drive through the sides of cars without slowing down much. I like all of the different locales in the game. Some places take place at night and you need to turn on your headlights if you want to see. Others take place in rain, so you need to turn on your wipers. You never have to do both at the same time though, the game just wasn't powerful enough for that. Sometimes you even need to deal with oncoming traffic. The Rocky Mountain segment is just like driving through the real thing with slow ass trucks that you need to go around, which end up knocking you off a giant cliff. I'm somewhat confused about parts of the route to get to New York though. You drive through Pittsburgh for a little bit and then the next segment is Washington. After that you go back to Pennsylvania in order to race through Philadelphia. The rules of the game are there are no rules, so why wouldn't you just take the shortest route possible? Speaking of Washington, I don't really think that they captured the essence of the city at all, do you? There's also a time attack and a 2-player split screen mode if that tickles your fancy. The graphics are interesting. I know most of you think that this game looks like a horrible, pixelated mess. Well, you're definitely right, but I guess I can appreciate it for what it is. And it's a game that's made up completely of 2D sprites. The road literally looks like you're driving over a bunch of logs. It kind of gives the game a unique look, really. Another game that AM2 would go on to make that used log scaling is Power Drift. This is the Saturn version, and I wanted to talk about it in this episode, but it was just released in too many other countries on other platforms. I'll have to find some other reason to talk about it sometime. And no, it doesn't fit into the kart racing genre as there are no weapons and no attacks. I don't care what Wikipedia says. Anyway, I don't know how Gail Racer compares to Radmobile, the arcade game. I assume it's worse since this is an early Saturn game, but I've never seen the arcade. The music is very cheesy, but I love it. I can see why this wasn't brought out for the Saturn in other territories though. They were really trying to push the polygon experience and it looked awful compared to newer games like Daytona. Only morons like me would have likely bought it. I can't really recommend it unless you have a soft spot for Sega racing games. If you do, go for it, it's extremely cheap.
All right, cool. 3 quality games right off the bat.
I think so.
Yeah, I really like that Game Boy game a lot.
Yeah,
it's cool.
Nubo.
No bow. I don't know. I love how they make them easily pronounceable.
Yeah. Anyway, we've got 3 more games to cover, so hell, let's just get right back into it.
This is Kururin Squash for the GameCube. It's a puzzle game developed by Aiding and published by Nintendo in 2004. I'm not exactly sure how I found out about this game, as I don't think it was advertised anywhere that I can remember. It doesn't really matter, as it turned out to be a really good purchase. So as you can see, you control a stick that slowly spins in one direction. Well, it's not really a stick, but more of a ship, and your little character sits right in the middle, even if you can't see him. The object of the story mode is to maneuver your ship through tight corridors and reach the exit. It doesn't sound too difficult, and the first few levels of the game are actually pretty easy. They're mainly wide passages with a few turns in them, and they serve their purpose, which is to let you get the feel for the controls. And speaking of controls, they're amazing in this game. The analog stick is very responsive, and you'll have no problems controlling your ship. So besides just trying to get through each maze, you'll collect coins along the way. These coins can be used to buy things in the shop. I'm not exactly sure what all the items are, since the dialogue is all crazy characters. I think the reason it's not in Japanese and has these characters is because I had to use a freeloader disc to get past the region lock. This somehow messed up a lot of the in-game script. Anyways, besides buying normal stuff like hearts and a Game Boy Advance, you can buy skins for your ship. Nothing in the shop is necessary to get through the game, but it would be nice to know what I'm looking at. As the game progresses, naturally it gets harder and the mazes become more difficult. Your ship spins at a slow speed, but you can slightly speed it up to help you get through tight areas. And if there's springs on the wall, you can hit them and they'll cause your ship to rotate in the opposite direction. This is all great, but the game doesn't ever seem to get tremendously challenging. This might be because you get 3 hearts. If you hit a wall or an enemy, you lose 1 heart, but it's never a big deal, since halfway through each stage there's a spot that lets you refill your life. After every handful of levels, your ship will get an ability that helps keep the game fresh. There's 4 abilities, and they are boxing gloves that let you punch enemies, a submarine which lets you dive underwater, a flamethrower that lets you fry enemies, and a tornado that lets you kill enemies with, well, yep, a tornado. There are boss fights, and they aren't hard, but they can be entertaining, and you only fight them when you have one of the abilities on your ship. Like I keep saying, the game isn't hard, but if you want to up the challenge, you can choose a bigger ship. This really does make the game more difficult, as you don't have as much room to maneuver. I really do like the graphics in this game. The backgrounds are super colorful and nice to look at. I always feel like they'll be a distraction, since you can typically see through the course to the backgrounds, but they never are. The music is a strange mix. Most of the time it sounds like elevator music, but it's not really annoying. It's nothing that I would care to listen to outside of the game, but it sounds fine here. I'm glad that I have this game, and if it looks like something that you'd be interested in, then give it a shot. You won't be sad.
Alright, here's Flying Hero on the Super Famicom by Sofel. I know what you're thinking. Another shooter? And another shoot 'em up? Yeah, so? Anyway, during the opening cinematic experience, we clearly see that this girl and her pet spaceship are having an argument of some kind. The pet spaceship, or Marshmallow or whatever it is, wonders if apologizing will help make things better. And then for no reason whatsoever, the girl is kidnapped, as often happens in video games, and now it's up to you to rescue her so you can apologize. Honestly, if you actually manage to rescue her, she's the one who should be apologizing, because this game is pretty damn tough. It puts a lot of stuff on screen at once with no slowdown, and that means it's really hard to avoid getting hit hard and hit often. Initially, it kind of looks like a Twin Bee game. You half expect bells to be flying out of these clouds as you shoot them, but no. The way the game works is kind of interesting. You can aim your shot left or right with the L and R shoulder buttons. If you press them both at the same time, you shoot directly behind you. And you'll need to master this to have any chance at all in the later stages. There's several different items that you can pick up. There's different types of weapons you can use, but collecting the same weapon icon again and again won't power it up. Instead, you need to collect cupcakes. Once you collect 3 cupcakes, your current weapon will be powered up 1 level. Each weapon can be powered up twice. There's also a cake-like icon which will power it up all the way. But you gotta be careful, because if you collect another weapon, the power-upness won't transfer over. Your life is also tied to your weapon strength, so if you take a hit, your weapon level goes down a notch. If you get hit when your weapon is at its lowest power, you die. Fortunately, you respawn right there. It's always good to keep 2 cupcakes in your inventory if you're at max weapon level. That way if you get hit, you only need 1 more cupcake to restore your power. The problem is avoiding other cupcakes because you don't want to accidentally grab one. You can even get heat-seeking helper missiles that fire in addition to whatever weapon you're currently using. There's also bombs that you can use and collect. The screen gets crowded often, so bombs can come in quite handy. Like I said, this is a tough game, and I often found it hard to have enough patience to learn the patterns and keep going. And there are a ton of bosses and mid-bosses to learn over the game's 7 levels. At least the graphics are bright and colorful, extremely bright. There's also copious amounts of scaling and rotation used via Mode 7. I also like that you get to destroy monkeys. And who the hell doesn't like killing monkeys? There's even some skeleton monkeys that flash you. Hey, look at me, I'm so naked I don't even have skin! The music is alright, I guess. I mean, it works for the game, but it's nowhere near the levels of Proteus or whatnot. So do I recommend this one? Only if you want a challenging shooter that requires a lot of patience to get through. Complete copies are going for more than $100, but at the time of this review, you can get a cart-only copy for around $30.
Konami is known for some of the best action platforming games during the 16-bit era, and Ganbare Goemon for the Super Famicom is a shining example. Sadly, this game never made it out of Japan, and the storyline might be the reason why. From what I understand, a Westerner named General McGinnis wants to change Japan and make them follow Western ways and culture, so he invades the country with his bunny army. Yes, I said bunny army. Every enemy you fight has bunny ears, which makes them kind of cute, but it also makes me want to smash them. And smash them I did through many levels, and it felt great. To start the game off, you choose from one of 3 characters to play. Each one has a melee attack which can be powered up as well as a projectile. All of them are fun and they each have different attributes. I found Goemon to be the best since he's the all-around best in stats. The game is set up really nicely with levels that are displayed on an overworld map that's easy to use. In fact, it's similar to Super Mario World. Once you get past a level, obviously you can go on to the next. There's towns that you can visit along the way which are easy to navigate. In these towns you can do a lot of different things. You can buy health and armor, which is usually necessary by the time you get there. You can stay at an inn and save your game. Staying at inns also refills your life, but it's not cheap. You might as well just buy food from another shop as it does the same thing but much cheaper. You can hit people with your weapon in town. But watch out, because if you hit the wrong person, they'll get mad and come after you. Just step into a shop and you'll be fine. Some towns even have mini-games that you can play to earn extra money. A lot of them are fairly entertaining, like this one where you shoot balls at an opponent on the other side of a table. Or this one where you're cleaning up animal footprints in Mode 7. There's even a few cameo appearances here like Rocket Knight, who looks good as usual, but what the hell's he trying to tell me? And my favorite, Simon Belmont, who doesn't look as good as usual. I don't like Chibi Simon. Oh, and there's one more really cool thing that you can do, which is play a level from that Konami shooter Zezix. Zzzz, whatever it's called. It's slow and feels really zoomed in, but I'm really glad it's here. But visiting a town isn't the reason why we're playing this game, so let's get on with the rest of the review. Every level you play is seriously fun, and at times they can have some ridiculously hard platforming. There's even lots of little vehicles that you can take over from your enemies and use throughout the rest of the level. They're all pretty cool, but feel a bit sluggish to control. The backgrounds are all really detailed and overflow with color. After a while, you'll get to a boss fight. These are typical one-on-one battles and can be tough, but once you learn the pattern after a few tries, they get easier. Then there's the levels where you take control of Impact. Impact is a huge robot on roller skates. The first part of these levels has you destroying small villages and enemy planes and tanks. So fun! Take that, Western culture! The last part switches to first-person mode where you fight another large robot. You can punch, dodge, and throw projectiles at your enemy. These battles are tough, but like I said, by the 3rd or 4th time you'll learn what to do and then you can kick ass. When I started playing this game, I was pretty amazed at all it had to offer, from the different styles of play to the mini-games. This is just one awesome game that didn't make it out of Japan. I'm really happy to have a copy in my collection, and if it looks good to you, go for it. You can get it for about $20 and it's well worth that.
Alright, there's some more Japanese games for you. What'd you guys think about these games, Dave? What did you think? What's so damn funny? I guess we know.
What did you guys think about these games, Dave? That's what you said. I don't know what they thought about them.
In the meantime, thank you for watching GameSack. why in Japan did Nintendo market the GameCube with these weird cardboard slip covers and the clear box underneath, when in North America, we got the really cool cases that are perfect for display on the shelf?
You know, Joe, that's a really good question, but I don't have the answer for that, you know? And it doesn't matter to me, because this is what I do. I buy the game, throw the cardboard away, I open the case, grab it, this is all I want out of the thing, throw the plastic away, grab my CD wallet, open it up to an empty page, put the disc in there, voila, it's done. Space saving, you don't need all this. It's a waste.
But what about Genesis games? You know, you got the cool plastic clamshell that protects the cartridge. You can't do the same thing with a cartridge.
Watch, look at this. I already have some cartridges in here. It's like this wallet was made for this. So you just open to the next empty page and you shove the... Just like that. See, nice and convenient. You don't need this, Joe, or this is a country about waste. Just get rid of all this.